Episode 215, the Expert Series with Jen Rulon. Yes, the Expert Series. So the Expert Series is going to be a little bit of a break between the races that I've been doing to actually give a little bit more back to the athletes that have been listening and paying attention. So the Expert Series is going to be just a list of a few people that I found that have a little bit more to offer to the athletes that could really bring value to athletes in general. So I hope you find value in this series. And I also want to say thank you so much for listening to the 2018 races. And I look forward to many more in 2019. So I have some awesome things I'm going to be bringing you in 2019. And I hope you all have a great year and a wonderful time listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. And enjoy this first episode of the Expert Series with Jen Rulon. Welcome to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in there for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today I'm talking with my friend and fellow coach, Coach Jen Rulon from Rulon Racing. This is going to start the Expert Series. She's completed 14 full-distance Ironmans and has been on the triathlon scene for more than 25 years and has been coaching for more than 17 years. Jen has a master's degree in kinesiology with an emphasis on exercise science, as well as 2 published books on Amazon, and today we will be highlighting her knowledge and her book called Strength Training for Triathletes. Welcome to the show, Jen. I look forward to talking about what you know about the triathlon world.
Thanks for having me, Terry. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So you've been in triathlon for a long-ass time. So
yeah.
How have you developed your strength training over the years?
Well, first of all, when I first started doing triathlons, my coach, or I didn't have a triathlon coach right away. But when I started realizing that my goal was to get to Kona, I hired a coach in 2000. And so she would give me strength training sessions and I would never do them because I'd be like, why do I need to do them? I'm going to do a swim, bike, and run. That's all I need to do, right? So I did triathlons, did my first Ironman, all that stuff, did 3 more later. And then what happened was that, I just sort of got burnt out. I needed to take a break. I needed to focus on life. I needed to focus on training, or I needed to focus on life and my job. And so when I took that sabbatical, I did take a 8-year sabbatical from Ironman triathlons. I found CrossFit. I drank the Kool-Aid and I loved every bit of it. I loved the strength training. I loved what it did for me as an athlete, as a woman. It gave me confidence that I never had out on that race course. So where I came in with strength training was in 2009 was when I technically started CrossFit, and then I got CrossFit certified and coached and all that fun stuff, and did a whole bunch of certifications and all that stuff, and learned more about strength training for just the human body. And then I started applying that to triathletes. Nice.
So when did you actually get your master's degree then?
I got my master's, in 2009. I started it in 2010, and I had to take a couple undergrad because my undergraduate degree, I didn't do any kinesiology or like anatomy and phys. So I had to take a couple undergrad classes, and then I graduated May 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was in my 40s getting my master's degree.
So you feel just like me with like the Billy Madison in the classroom.
Yes, very much so.
Surrounded by 18 and 20-year-olds.
Yeah. I was like, I could be your mama.
Literally.
Man.
So how have you started developing strength training programs overall?
Yeah. So so here's the thing as with the triathletes, like we know that the swim, the bike, and the run are important. That is crucial. But what happens is that a lot of athletes tend not to work on that posterior chain. So when I'm talking about posterior chain, I'm talking about glutes, I'm talking about hamstring, I'm talking about back. How often do we hear athletes saying, my glutes aren't firing? I mean, shoot, we heard Tiger Woods talk about that with his training. My glutes aren't firing. And so what happens is that since we are such anterior or quad dominant in triathlons, that where we need to work in the gym is the posterior chain and working that side in the gym. So I started figuring out like, okay, what needs the human body? What do we do on everyday basis? We swim, we bike, we run. What muscles are being used? And then I think, okay, what do we need to do in the gym? So then I start thinking, okay, back, glutes, hamstrings, quads, core, because we got to use the core for swimming. So it was just me starting to think about what I did in the gym and what I do outside swimming, biking, and running.
Right. I mean, so if we take a look at just the demographics of most of the triathletes that I've had on the show, a lot of them have full-time jobs besides the professionals. Even some of the professionals have jobs as well.
Sure.
Which most of the time, not all the time, is sitting down at a desk. And you know, just like I do, that is not what you want to do from a strength training aspect, because sitting down at the desk or sitting down in general for long periods of time just is going to lock up your hips. You're not going to have the flexibility in the hips that you need. How have you combated that?
Because I do, especially like this time of year, doing stuff, getting ready for 2019 for the Rulon Racing team. I'm sitting a lot. So I would say every 30 minutes I get up, I will, just do some stretching and just walk around to make sure I'm not hunched over. But you have to think about it. Like, we're constantly in that flexion position, right? When we're riding, especially when we're in aero, if we're training for Ironman, half Ironman, even Olympics and sprints, you are in that flex position. So the crucial point that we want to do in the gym is to strengthen the back, strengthen the core, strengthen the glutes. And when I talk about core, I'm not talking about getting that six pack. I'm talking about that full body around, take off your arms, your head, and your legs. That's your core. That's what you need to work on. And obviously your chest, but so it's just something you need to really be mindful of, sitting all the time. And I've heard about like the standing desk and stuff like that, but I haven't gotten there yet. So
no.
Mm-mm.
So whenever it comes to the things that most triathletes don't know about when it comes to strength training, they don't know to do just sets in the gym of different workouts, because like most triathletes, we aren't really that savvy in the gym, at least most of them. So they're like, what do I do?
Let's go crush a whole bunch of love.
Where do we go, George? Like, I don't know what to do over here.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that mentality of, if you're coaching somebody virtually and you don't know, hey, they don't communicate to you saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing in the gym, because nobody wants to admit that. But for most of the people, it's true.
Well, if you are being coached by me and you don't tell me what you can and can't do, I will call you on your shit. Like, plain and simple. Like, I'm not sorry. Can I swear?
Yes, you can. I don't give a shit.
I mean, and that's the thing. So when I try to educate people on strength training, I always have them think about, okay, how are they comfortable in the gym? Are they a beginner? Are they intermediate? Are they advanced? I will adjust the schedule for those athletes. Now, mind you, I only work with 15 athletes at a time. That's my max. And like, I'm maxed out already going into 2019, which is awesome. So, but I know that this one athlete is good in the gym, so I can give him some little bit more advanced lifts, like a power clean or a Romanian. Everybody needs Romanian deadlifts, but I can give him a little bit more advanced. Where somebody who is maybe a little bit newer, maybe I won't have them do power cleans. Maybe I'll have them do dumbbell front squats instead, something like that. So it's just adjusting the levels of how advanced the people are. Now, in my book, my Rulon Rules, Strength Training and the Triathlete, what I talk about in the book is more about how to organize the lifts that need to be done for a triathlete, along with how to plan it in your season. And then, but I don't give, that was one comment that I got on Amazon was that, hey, there's no program. Well, there is, but you got to hire me, So there are programs. I pretty much have a 30-week program, strength training program, designed. I need to sell it, but I haven't yet.
So in this program that you make, it's not necessarily, and like, I'm sure you're the same way about plans as well. You don't want to just build a plan and sell the plan because you don't know how that's going to fit with the individual. And strength training is so much like that.
So, right. Yeah. Strength training is very specific to the individual. Like I was just saying, I have one athlete who can knock out power cleans. I have another athlete that needs to probably just do front squats, something like that. So yeah, strength training, but but I will tell people up front, if you are buying this plan, then this is where you're at. And this is how comfortable you are getting in the gym, getting under the bar, that type of thing.
Right. So as far as strength training in general, what do you feel like people don't really know about strength training and being a triathlete at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. And this is the number one thing. You ain't going to get bulky. You ain't going to come out of that gym looking like a bodybuilder. If you're going to do that, you need to stop swimming, biking, and running. That is basic exercise physiology. It's all about specificity. So when it comes to training with being a triathlete, if you're going to add weight, if you're going to add strength training to it, you're not going to get bulky. You're going to gain muscle and you're not going to gain mass, because what's happening is you're doing more swimming, biking, and running than you are with strength training. Even during the off season, if you did 3 times a week strength training and then still did like 2 swims, 2 bikes, 2 runs, you're not going to gain the mass that you think you're going to gain.
Right. So what about putting strength training into run sets or bike sets where you're doing single leg work on the bike, or where you're running and then you're stopping, doing some lunges, some leg swings, things like that?
You could. I don't know if that's really ideal. I think the biggest thing that I learned, 2 biggest things that I learned from my CrossFit mentors and my CrossFit coaches was the whole push and pull concept. So let's say, for example, you go into the gym and you want to work upper body and you want to work lower body. So let's say the first set would be a push set. So maybe you do a shoulder to overhead movement. So there you are working on a shoulder press, right? So you're working on shoulder, you're working on your back, you're working on the scapula. So you have that. So that is a push movement. But then you have the pull movement. Maybe the pull is from the ground. So you're doing deadlifts. So there you are knocking out the push movement from the shoulder to overhead from a pull movement from the ground up. So there you are. You worked some major body parts: shoulder, back, glutes, hamstring. So that's the one thing that I love, that I've learned from my CrossFit coaches and mentors, the push-pull concept. The other concept that I love from CrossFit is that those WODs, and I'm not talking about the 20, 30-minute WODs. We do those WODs every day. You swim, bike, and run, right? What I'm trying to teach my athletes is when they go in the gym and they try to do, and I have them do a WOD that's under 10 minutes or 12 minutes. That's the key to going fast and hard and that uncomfortable feeling that we all get. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And it's bringing the intensity.
It's tapping into that phosphagen system, that energy system. So currently we're always in that aerobic system, right? I sometimes I could be really geeky on this stuff, but we're always, as triathletes, tapping into that aerobic energy system. 30-minute bike, 30-minute run, 30-minute swim, right? That's the aerobic energy system. But when you go into that phosphagen energy system, that's that energy system that's going 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and you're going fast and hard for that round. So like one of my favorite workouts is, let's say, for example, like the first workout is like you do a push-pull set, right? That would be the strength set, right? You do a push, you do a pull set. Then I would have them do a high intensity training workout or a WOD, whatever you want to call it. And that would be a 10-minute EMOM. And EMOM is every minute on the minute. And this is coming from CrossFit, so I have to give them props. But it's 30 seconds, or it's how do I explain it? It's like you go as hard as you can within the minute. And whenever you're done with that exercise, you have left over is your rest. So let's say, for example, the workout might be, let's say, I'm trying to think, like 10 kettlebell swings and 3 burpees, right? You do that as hard as you can within the minute. If you get done with that set in 45 seconds, you have 15-second rest. If you get done with that set in 55 seconds, you have a 5-second rest. And then you have to repeat that whole series over.
So it's just like swimming intervals on time.
Yes, you got it. Yeah. And you probably all have heard Tabata intervals. So
yeah, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, or 20, whatever. Yeah. Mix it up.
Yeah. And now here's the thing. The real Tabata is like, it should be 20-10. And you're going to go hard for those 20 seconds and you're going to rest for 10 seconds. You do that 8 times. You should be trashed. Like, you should be done. You shouldn't be able to have to go another round of Tabatas. You didn't do it right the first time.
So what's your favorite Tabata?
It depends on what I'm trying to knock out. I'll do body weight Tabatas. I'll do air squats, as many air squats as I can in 20 seconds, 10-second rest. I'll do sit-ups. My push-ups suck, but I'll do push-ups. I'll do pull-ups. So it's like, you could just vary it up. But Tabatas are great. You could do that on the bike. You could do that on the run. You could do that. Swimming can be tough. I mean, you'd have to do a 25-minute or a 25-meter pool or a yard pool, but It depends on.
So what about, just from my experience, even with pro athletes that I've had on the show, they incorporate a ton of strength training into their workouts during the week, and they count that towards their total training time. Do you count that as in their total training time?
100%, yeah.
So how many hours a week would you normally prescribe somebody to actually strength train?
So it changes. So currently, since we are on the off season, let me back up. You asked how many hours. You're looking at 1 hour to 3 hours a week, but it depends on where you are in your periodization for triathlon. So even though, like, with periodization, do you know about?
Yes.
I don't want to totally dumb it down, but with periodization, what we want to try to do is we want to peak for the race, right? So even though like your peaking is high in the triathlon world, let me back up. Hold on. Beep, beep, beep. You're looking at 1 to 3 hours a week, but it also depends on when you are doing the lifts and when you're racing, right? So off season, you can knock out 3 hours, right? But when you're closer to your race, you're going to be knocking out nothing or, body weight stuff or just maintaining mode, so you're not going to be putting a lot of time in there. I don't think you need to put a lot of time in strength training, even off season. If you could knock out 3 hours a week, I think it's great. But when you get closer to that race, if you're not really doing any strength training and you're doing mobility work, then that's perfect as well.
So what about mixing CrossFit and triathlon training at the same time?
That has been known, and that's called CrossFit Endurance, right?
But then CrossFit did away with that.
They did do away with that. And I think it doesn't work. It's all about specificity. Here's the thing. So the past week in San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon was there, and people will be, oh my God, I do CrossFit and I did a marathon or I did a half marathon. And, of course, as a coach, I'm like, hey, good job. But then when they tell me their times and they maybe did a 2:30 half marathon or a 5-hour marathon, that's not really helping. Like, you probably just injured yourself is really what you did. Like, to do that type of training, that distance training, you have to fucking run. You have to run. Sorry, I swore again. You have to run. You have to run. You have to swim, bike, and run. So I really, to combo the strength training, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right?
Right.
So I don't agree with it. I think if you're going to go into the gym and lift, and do those high intensity workouts. If you're going to swim, bike, run.
So what about the difference in the strength training for men and women? Do you see a difference? Do you think there's a difference?
Terry.
I've been I asked other people to give me questions and I'm just going down the list.
Oh my gosh. No, there's no difference than men and women. No. I mean, if you're a guy and I give you a strength training program, you could probably lift more weight than I can. I'm still going to do that same thing, and I'm going to try to prove that up here. That, no. Men, women, there's no difference. There's no difference. It just depends on how advanced you are in the gym. Like the gym that I go to in San Antonio is called the Tribe, and they just got CrossFit affiliate. And they've been doing this for a long time. But the great thing is that they know what my goals are. They know I'm a triathlete, but they also know that I maybe I can't lift as much as I can, as the next person, or maybe, so we adjust what I need to adjust for. I can't lift as much as this one girl, Jenny, does because she goes to the gym 6 days a week, So, but I might be able to outrun them.
Right.
So
CrossFit has this bad name, especially in triathlon, the community, because of injuries. And you're always going to get injured by doing CrossFit. But I feel like if it's a CrossFit coach that actually knows what the hell they're doing, they're going to prevent you from getting injured.
So here's my sort of my, the lawyer's wife question, like flipping it around. People get injured running. People get injured cycling, maybe get hit by a car. people get injured swimming because of overuse, shoulder injury. So if you're an athlete, there's a type of injury, whether you're a swimmer, cyclist, runner, triathlete, CrossFit athlete, right?
There's always going to be a risk there.
There's always going to be a risk if you're an athlete, no matter what type of exercise you're doing. Zumba, maybe you pop out a knee, like because you twisted wrong.
I'm over here picturing you in your Sherpa spectator beanie doing Zumba. Yes.
Right. So yeah, but you're right. I think regardless, as a coach in the CrossFit world or a coach in the triathlon world, you do have to be very mindful of what you can offer the clients that you are working with. And this is, I think on my blog, actually, I talk about, like 5 questions to ask a potential gym or a potential, like a CrossFit, not a CrossFit gym, but like a gym, and say, and the coaches at that gym and say, you know what, like if you go into the gym and you say, these are my goals. My goal is to get to, I don't know, Boston Marathon or Kona or whatever that might be. Those coaches should recognize that and adjust for you. And that's what I love about the gym that I currently go to. So
they're not sitting there pushing you to do something that's not aligning with your goal. Not
at all. Like even like last week, I got back to lifting and I went in and I'm currently dealing with a little bit of left hamstring issue. So, which I think coincides with my SI joint and my lower back and,
that's why you're going to the chiropractor today.
Right. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? That whole combination, like it all combines together. But the point is that, what was my point? Dang it. Sorry.
Aligning with your goals.
Oh, aligning with my goals. But the like last week when I was dealing with the hamstring issues, they were doing like single-legged, we were doing lunges with the bar. And so I tried it on the warm-up and I told my coach, I was like, you know what? I'm a little worried to do single isolation movements right now because my left hamstring is feeling a little bit weak. And he's like, okay, well then just do some front squats. And that's what I did, So,
and I think that comes back to confidence in actually saying, hey, yes, I know what my body is doing right now.
Yeah.
That isn't right. And I need to adjust for that. Where some athletes that aren't as well versed in that might be, this is just normal, I guess. And
right.
It's not normal. It's feedback, and that feedback should be addressed so that way you don't get more feedback and get injured.
Exactly. And even like, the other, I guess it was a while ago when I was in the CrossFit world, I was doing some Bulgarian split squats, which is very common, like just in everyday lifting world. They're great isolation movements. And when I was doing them, I felt something on my knee. Like, I'm like, oh, that's not right. And I stopped and I went to my coach. I was like, hey, something's not right with my knee. And I looked like, and then I get home and at this time I was in my master's, right? So I'm studying. I think I was studying for my finals, final finals, like
me this week.
Yes. And all of a sudden I looked down and my knee was a balloon. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So I go to the Erasti group and they're like, yeah, we can't help you. You need an MRI, anyways, long story short, I had a torn meniscus. I had a complex tear. And people are like, oh, because of CrossFit. No, at that time, I was probably 41, 42. I was an athlete my whole life. That could have been slightly tear when I slid into home in high school when I was a softball player. You know what I mean? Like, I was a runner. I was a triathlete for 8 years prior to being a CrossFit athlete. It's just so yeah, I think it really depends on what you're doing. I've gotten injured as a runner. I've rolled my ankle on the trails, so yeah.
So what about ankle mobility and knee mobility and just mobility in general? Do you incorporate a type of stretching routine or strength training routine after every workout?
No, I should, but I don't. Actually, the group that I go to, Stratton Sport and Spine in San Antonio, they are phenomenal. And they do a really good job of giving me, exercises to do for my lower back, for my hamstring, for my ankle, for my knees. So they do a really good job of that. Here's the thing. I need to apply that myself. They can't do it for me. So like before I go run, I'll probably get like the band out and do some gorilla walks and stuff like that, to activate my glutes. Even before I go to the gym, I'll do some stretching that I've done that I know works for me, before the lift, because I don't want to jack up my back or my hamstring. So,
right. And that leads into the next question of recovery is such a big issue with athletes that just, they'll get done with a hour and a half long run or bike, or they get done with a swim that's an hour long. And then instead of doing a cool down, they'll just hop in the shower to get ready for the day, then go to work. Or even worse, they'll just get a shower, then go to bed.
Right.
Right. Why is this so bad? And what do you know about what not to do with that?
Yeah. I think it depends on how old you are too. Yes, age plays a huge role. I think the younger group of people can get away with it, but as we age, I'm starting to stretch more. I'm starting to do more mobility because my body doesn't move like it used to. So, I don't want to say it's bad because I don't know if there's been any scientific evidence that it's bad to work out and then jump into bed. I don't know. But I think ideally, if you can, I think doing mobility at least 3 times a week before or after a workout is ideal. And when I talk about mobility, I talk about, doing, like doing band work, like the gorilla walks that I was telling you about, or if you have rotator cuff issues, like doing mobility that way. K-Star from CrossFit, he does the mobility WOD workouts. Like, the guy's a genius. He's got a lot of great information on there about, hey, I have tight hip flexors. What do you suggest? And then he'll show you, like, he'll get a band out and, you hold the couch stretch for 3 minutes, or you get on a ball. Like, so yeah, it's crazy. In our house, we have like bands, we have bands, we have like a lacrosse ball, we have like a thick, big ball.
The big trigger terrible. Point.
Yeah, the big trigger point ball. Yeah, like, we'll go on that and work on our psoas and release the psoas muscles. So we're always trying to stay active, even though we're like sitting down. Like, sometimes we'll take the lacrosse ball. Even when I'm working, I'll put the lacrosse ball on my glutes and start rolling around on it and find a point and sit on that and look at my watch and be like, okay, I got 2 minutes to make sure that this gets released. So, yeah.
And that leads into the whole atrophy thing, because with sports in general, it does help keep the muscles active, but if you don't use it, you lose it. And
correct.
Like, I've had the ability, I guess you could say ability, but my wife's grandmother had hip surgery at like an ungodly age. She's very well experienced in her age, and she did not want to do the physical therapy because it hurt. And she literally just sits in bed all day, lays in bed, and does nothing. And over the last few years, I've seen her legs go from normal to toothpicks because she didn't use her muscles. And that's on a bigger, larger scale. But on the smaller scale, if we don't use our back muscles don't know how to work.
Correct.
And all those ligaments, all those little fibers of the sacromolators in there and all that fun stuff, they don't start working anymore. You see what I did there? Huh?
Nice.
So how have you addressed the smaller issues of atrophy with making sure you use everything in a strength program?
I don't think I have addressed it, to be honest with you, because I work with athletes, and athletes are going to be constantly moving. They're going to swim, bike, and run regardless, versus being stable, being stagnant, right? So I've never really addressed the atrophy because those are not the athletes that I work with.
What do you mean?
Oh, I work with triathletes. So they're going to swim, bike, and run. If they're not going to swim, bike, and run and lift with me, then they don't need me as a coach. Right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to address something that doesn't pertain to them, because and this is something that I've talked about with just recently about identifying my clients. My clients are going to be athletes that are going to swim, bike, run, lift. If you're not, then you shouldn't be coached by me or work under me. Plain and simple. So now, if you're talking about atrophy, like you said about your grandmother or my mom had hip surgery, same thing. Like, I'd tell her, I'd be like, Mom, you got to start walking. You got to go to PT. And then she finally started walking to PT to help with the hip and help with the knee. And it's like, that type of thing. And I tell people this, I think strength training is the fountain of youth. I really think that strength training plays a huge role in whether you're a triathlete, a runner, a mom, a dad, a grandparent. I think strength training because don't quote me. I want to say by the time we're 40, that's when we start losing the muscle, right? We start dropping and going into the atrophy, or if you want to call it atrophy. So if you don't move, you're going to go into atrophy, but I only work with those people that move.
Okay. And so, that would actually make sense of why 35, 39 is usually the peak of the age group performances at the Ironman, right?
Are you sure?
Normally.
You know what? I would recheck that, because Chris is in the 50 to 54, my husband, and those guys crushed it. Like some of those guys were top 10.
Wow. But
I think what's happening is that triathletes are getting older, smarter. Like we've experienced triathlon. So when we started, maybe we were in that 35 to 39, right? Now what's happening is, unfortunately, we're getting older and we're still crushing it. I don't know. I would be curious to see what's happening in the on how things are shifting, because even in Chris's age group, there were 4 guys that went to Kona.
Wow.
They had 4 slots because there was more 50 to 54. I think that was almost one of the biggest age group for men.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it might have been the biggest or the second biggest.
Not to totally get off topic, but did you see
right?
Argentina? Did you see that yet?
No. Did they cancel the swim?
It was a shorter swim at Argentina, but it was 780 something or 70 something competitors total.
Okay.
75 Kona slots. 75 Kona slots. There were.
But wasn't it a,
South American National Championship?
thank you. It was some type of championship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had less than 100 women compete.
Don't tell me that.
Like, that's just,
we acted about going there instead of doing Florida in Haines City. Don't tell me that.
you could have got another slot.
Oh, that's probably why my husband didn't tell me that. Really?
Man.
Wow. Well, and I've heard, so here's the thing. So sort of going off topic. So if you don't want to record this, but, when we were debating on Ironman Florida, like when we weren't sure if they were going to even do Ironman Florida, we actually looked into Argentina, and we actually reached out to people who've been to Argentina. They said the logistics to get down there were super hard.
It's a 5-hour drive from the closest airport, I think. Is that right?
Is it? Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you could fly into like a little podunk town.
But then you risk getting your bike there safely.
Yeah.
Yes,
you're right. You do have to drive. That's right. I do remember that now. And I mean, you're in a foreign country. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know of any. I'm going to try to get one person to get on here with that, but I don't know of like.
Contact Rennie.
Yeah, okay.
Or Timmy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Tim wants to talk about his race or not.
Oh, that's true. Oh. That's true. Yeah.
I know of, I think, 2 other people that did it, but I don't know. Just, it's hard to get in touch with people that are like in the Southern Hemisphere for some reason. They don't have Facebook access. The internet's not that great.
Oh, sure.
But I know, Try Mace in the Face, I think is how you say her handle on Instagram.
Okay.
She has a good following, and she did the race.
Okay.
In like a really bright kit from Wasatch. She was pretty cool. But anyway, to get back on topic with strength training.
I know, right?
Yeah. Squirrel.
What time are we in? Okay.
Yeah. You get on time?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I know you have 10 good workouts that you call the Rulon Racing HIT workouts in your book. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh gosh. I'm like, what were they? I think I'm trying to think. I think the HIT workouts are just more or less like body weight stuff, for that. So I talk about, it's like Tabata workouts. It's like things that I've put together. I think the one workout that I absolutely love is called, I call it the Kangaroo, because people used to call me Ruru, like Rulon Racing, Ruru, long story short, but, Kangaroo was the workout. So it was, what was it? It was 800 meter run, 10 pull-ups, 10 box jumps, 400 meter run, 20 pull-ups, 20 box jumps, 300 meter run, 200 meter run, 30 pull-ups, 30 box jumps. So it's like you're increasing and decreasing the run and the strength portion. And and the cool thing is that you can supplement that, the pull-ups. If you don't have a pull-up bar, if you can't do pull-ups, you can do that with sit-ups, or you can do it with a kettlebell swing. Or if you don't have box jumps, you could always do, 800 meter run with 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, 400 meter run, 20 push-ups, air squats. So that little HIT in, training is I just put together like 10 workouts just to have fun with it. And there's so many ways you can intertwine a lot of the CrossFit workouts, or a lot of the workouts that I've put together.
Right. So one of the last questions I have is, as far as equipment goes, what are a few pieces of equipment that you definitely recommend and you already use that you recommend people getting? Yeah,
for like a at home type of thing, you mean? Yeah. I think a kettlebell is fantastic.
Well, wait.
It depends on what level you're at, right? So if you're a beginner, I would say maybe look at they're in kilograms, those crazy Europeans. I would say a 10 to 12 pound weight kettlebell. But if you're comfortable with a kettlebell, like I have a 35K kettlebell or 34K, I don't remember, 35K kettlebell. And I'm very comfortable swinging that, or doing a front squat with it. So I think a kettlebell is great. I think a set of dumbbells are fantastic. I think you could look at, once again, it depends on your comfortability, right? Whether you're ranging from like 5 to 10 to 15 to 20, I think that's a good set, especially if you're beginning. But if you're pretty strong, then maybe you want to look at 20 to 35 pounds dumbbells. I think those are good. I think a yoga mat's going to be great. And I think a box, or like a step, that you could step up on, or that like a box that you could sit on. So you could do seated shoulder to overhead, or seated bicep curls, or a bench, or you could do step ups on a bench, that type of thing. You could also, a bench, you could do dumbbell.
But a solid bench, not like one of the ones that you have little spacers and you put
yes.
Don't do that one.
Don't do that. Don't go back to step aerobics back from the 80s. Like do like an actual bench. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like something that is solid. Yeah. So I think a kettlebell, I think a set of dumbbells, and I think a bench would be great.
And bands?
I don't do a lot of bands. I think the bands that I use are like the shorter bands for my little gorilla walks and my glute muscle, my glute bridges, that type of thing. I do a lot of the bands with that. Bigger bands. So here's the thing: in our gain cave, we have a squat rack, and we have a pull-up bar and weights. So I do have a band to attach to the pull-up bar. So if I'm not feeling very strong that day, I can actually do pull-ups with the band.
Well, that's kind of like what you said today on your story. You said you have to leave the ego at the door.
You do. Yes. Yeah. And I just actually received from one of my athletes, I got a TRX set of band, like not a band, but the TRX set. So I'm really looking forward to trying that out because there's so much you can do with that. So it's a great at-home thing.
Wow. So we hit a lot of key points about strength training. What do you feel like we left out?
Let me think about it. Push, pull, high intensity workouts, WODs, working on the posterior. I think what I said in the story, you definitely have to, when you go into the gym, you have to leave the ego at the door, whether you're going in there as a newbie, whether you're going in there like, a little bit advanced, but definitely leave the ego at the door, because if your goal is to build strength during the off season, you're going to be sore. You're going to be sore regardless if you're doing a 20-pound kettlebell, front squat, or a 50-pound kettlebell. So, start off not slow, but start off lighter than you think. Because if you're getting back into strength training from a full season of triathlon training, you're going to be sore regardless. The body's just sore. So my point is that, yes, leave the ego at the door and get into the gym and be aware of your body and what it can do, and talk to the coach that is helping you.
Okay. So I know a lot of people go to gyms where they offer one-on-one coaching and one-on-one personal training. How would you tell people to filter out the lesser experienced personal trainers that don't really know what they're doing just yet versus the ones that actually know what they're doing and have been around for long enough. Because a lot of the bigger gyms, Lifetime, LA Fitness, they're paying the personal trainers on a commission basis where how many people can they get in an hour, and especially if they're new, they're not getting that much. So volume is really key. So how do you tell people to filter out good versus not experienced personal trainers?
I would interview them like you would for any, like if you're going to interview a triathlon coach. You know, if you go up to the personal training desk and saying, hey, these are my goals, this is what I want to do, I would like to interview 3 personal trainers to see who is in line with what I do. Plain and simple. You, as the athlete, should take control of your training. Like, you have the decision. You can make the decision on how you get trained by a triathlon coach, by a strength coach, whatever that may be, by a personal trainer. You have the option to make that choice. Lifetime should not make it for you, or the global gym should not make that for you. You, the athlete, should make that for yourself.
Okay. So the last question I have is, working with a triathlon coach and a one-on-one coach at the same time, how have you dealt with that? I currently I'm doing that now. So what I provide is I provide the swim, bikes, and runs. And then his strength coach will provide the strength. And that coach and I have talked back and forth, and it's just, he knows what my one athlete's doing and I know what my athlete's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I trust that my athlete is going to be in good hands with this coach and vice versa. And so we just have that relationship, and I know my athlete is going to chime in if he says, Hey, Jen, I can't knock this out today because I'm sore. And I'm like, well, why are you sore? Well, because I did this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, well, let's move things around then. It's off season. I'm okay with that. Right. It's not like you're 2 weeks before a big race or something.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, it's been great. And if anybody wants to follow you, where can they follow you at?
They can go to jenrulon.com, or I am a big Instagram person, and you could go to Coach Jen Rulon. You could go to Twitter, Coach Jen Rulon. Facebook, I'm not on there much, but that is Jen Rulon, triathlon and strength coach.
Nice. And your 2 books are on Amazon, Rulon Rules, Strength Training, and The Triathlete?
You got it.
And what is the other one?
The other one is Life Lessons of an Ironman Triathlete. And I probably need to do version 2.
Really? Version 2?
Yeah, because I didn't get to Kona in that book.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
but
is
I did.
there a version 2 book now that's in the works?
I haven't even thought about it. I just need, I think, the last life lesson was never give up, and at that point I didn't get to Kona. And so I wrote that book in June of 2017, and I qualified for Kona in August 2017. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, it's been great. I look forward to following you next year, and hopefully we can have you back on here for a race.
Sounds good. Yeah. I don't know my race schedule yet, but I'll let you know.
No one does.
No.
I've been asking everybody, hey, what's going on the plan for next year? I don't know yet. We'll have to see.
Actually, we do plan on doing Galveston. So.
And Buffalo Springs, I'm sure.
Yes. You got to do Buffalo Springs.
Gosh.
I gotta redeem myself.
Yes. Well, have a good day, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks. Sounds good. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.